Hey everybody, what's up? Adam here, aka Dr. Taco 1982, and I'm coming to you today to talk about WWE Payback. So let's jump right into it. First match we're going to be talking about is going to be Sheamus versus Ziggler. This is the rubber band match from Extreme Rules. I really don't have a whole heck of a lot to say about this match. I didn't think it was that great. It was a very typical wrestling match, very back and forth. Each guy took control of the match at certain points, and then the other guy took control. Nothing really that great. The only thing I can say that I really enjoyed about it was that Ziggler got his retribution from the Kiss Me Arse match back in Extreme Rules. He pulled his shorts to the side, got a little smoochy smooch on the tush from Sheamus. You know, Sheamus technically lost the match at Extreme Rules, and he didn't fulfill his end of the stipulation. So it was nice to see that Ziggler got that. I really don't have anything to say other than that. It was an okay match. I was expecting a little bit more out of Ziggler and Sheamus, but I'm kind of hoping that this ends their little feud now that they've both had their win over each other, and maybe we can continue on. But I have a feeling it's probably going to be at least one more to kind of settle the story. Next up was the New Day versus Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. This was the rematch for the WWE Tag Team Championship, and it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. I always look forward to Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. I think they've been an incredible team. They really have the pieces, I feel, to be a competitive and entertaining team in the WWE right now. Between Cesaro's pure strength, which was exemplified by a 10-plus second standing suplex, and Tyson Kidd's athleticism, which is, shown in his dives and his speed and maneuverability, they are a balanced team. The first fall went to Kidd and Cesaro. Went pretty quick. They made short work of them. I was like, okay, they're moving this along around quickly. The second fall went to New Day, which, again, it's a 2 out of 3 falls. You kind of expect that. Very rarely does anybody ever win both matches immediately. It always goes to 3. New Day took out Cesaro with a Big E dive, and Cesaro hit his head on the barrier. At this point, Kidd had to fend for himself, and they landed the team move to get that pin. So, that's how they got it. The third fall also then went to the New Day, and they kept the belts. Xavier Woods removed his jacket and replaced himself with Kofi Kingston in the ring. He got Cesaro into a roll-up pin. The official didn't see the switch, and that's how they got the 1-2-3 on Kidd and Cesaro. The one thing I can say about this, I'm definitely enjoying the New Day as heels more than when they came in as the good guys, we believe in the power of positivity. Now they've kind of taken the power of positivity and turned it into a kind of a joke, because they very much are being more aggressive and cheating and, being heels. They're being heels while trying to do that whole, no, we're the good guys, you should like us. So I'm really hoping they can continue to build off of that. And if they can, I think they will be a good team, because I think they took 3 great performers in Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E, and I think they're giving them the ability to be better performers now. Very good match, though, and I'm hoping that with this, the tag team division will continue to build some traction, and it'll just keep getting better down the road. Next up was a match I wasn't really sure what to think about. It's Bray Wyatt versus Ryback. I feel like this storyline was kind of thrown together a little too quickly. It was done with the, very vague Bray Wyatt call-outs that he did, very similar with The Undertaker. So I thought he was going to be aiming for somebody a little bit bigger than Ryback. But, no, he's aiming for Ryback. So I was like, alright, it's 2 big guys. Let's see what they can do. I was hoping for Wyatt to win this match, mainly because as the new face of Fear, he hasn't had a lot of wins. He hasn't really been able to exemplify the new face of Fear, especially with the loss of The Undertaker at WrestleMania, which is where I thought was going to be his big boost into that new face of Fear. I'm still not really sure I understand where the storyline is going. They just kind of, it was a slow-paced match. They wrestled, they hit each other, and it was all Impact Wrestling. But that's Ryback, and that's Bray Wyatt. Wyatt looks like he hurt Ryback at some point. Ryback spent a good chunk of the match grabbing his side. It looked like he did something to his ribs. I'm not sure when it was. There was quite a few times that Wyatt threw himself at him. There was a point where Ryback was on the outside of the ring and Wyatt splashed onto him. It may have been at that point. I did watch Monday Night Raw, and he is taped up. So he could have bruised something. He could have got a fracture. He could have got something. So kudos to him for just sticking it out for the rest of the match. Ryback tried to take control late in the match. He went for a shell shock, but Wyatt was able to grab the rope and counter it. During that point, he untied one of the turnbuckles and threw Ryback into it, and then caught him in a Sister Abigail and ended the match. That looked horribly painful based on the fact of how much damage he'd already taken to his rib section anyways. So I'm glad that Wyatt got the 3 after the Sister Abigail. Perhaps this will help build forward from this point. I would like to see Wyatt face maybe some champions soon. Maybe somebody a little higher up on the roster, even though they are moving Ryback up the roster currently. But as the new face of fear, I would like to see him be a little more threatening and go after somebody again. Next, we're going to talk about Rusev versus Cena for the United States Championship in an I Quit match. This was probably my most favorite match from the night. I think both performers were absolutely amazing in this match. And other than the main event, which was the Fatal 4-Way, this was also my most anticipated match. Cena has really done, in my opinion, a great job of putting Rusev over. Even by winning or losing, he has done a great job. Cena has the potential to make other people great because he is so good at being a performer. And he will give whatever he has to give to make that next guy look as good, if not better, than what he looks like himself. The match started out in very similar ways to other I Quit matches. Rusev asked Cena if he wanted to quit before the match started. And of course, this was met by Cena attacking him. So that he got his answer about whether or not he was going to quit before the match started. And the answer, of course, was no. It was a brutal match from start to finish. Between his side slams and the spears and the AAs, it was all over the place. Probably the most devastating looking one that happened was Rusev's Alabama Slam of Cena through one of the old style barricades. Actually, you know what? No, that's not true. I think the most devastating one I saw was the AA onto the pyro display when he slammed Rusev. Because that looks like not only would it hurt slamming down, that looks like it would hurt a lot getting burned. So I'm kind of torn. I don't know which one I thought was more brutal. But I think I'm gonna go with the pyro display. I think that was better. I take it back, not the barricade, the pyro display. But at that point, he shook it all off and he got Cena into the ring, and he got Cena into the accolade. At which point, Cena, of course, did not say I quit, but Cena passed out, and Rusev thought he had won the match. They told him that no, your opponent has to say I quit to win the match. Cena didn't. So Rusev started throwing a temper tantrum, ran out of the ring, got a bottle of water, dumped it on Cena, and woke him up. At this point, I guess the bottle of water revitalized Cena, and he got Rusev into the STF. While he was in the STF, the official came over and was saying, Rusev, do you quit? And apparently he was just screaming in Bulgarian and Russian, so nobody understood what he was saying. It was at this point that Lana came over and took a microphone and said, he quits, end the match. Nobody at the time knew whether he was saying I quit in another language or if it was just Lana interfering again. I kind of predicted from the beginning that Lana was going to interfere or do something of this manner, and it was going to kind of break up the team of Lana and Rusev, and that was kind of confirmed last night on Raw, where Rusev says he doesn't need anybody, but Lana said that the only reason she called for the match to end was because he was in the ring screaming I quit in Bulgarian. So, if that's true, if he's even speaking a correct language, that's what happened. So I'm glad I got to take at least a couple minutes to, kind of address that, because I was curious about how that whole situation played out. But no, this was an absolutely fantastic match. This match was... I don't think this was the match everybody thought it was going to be. I think everybody was pretty much hyped for the Fatal 4-Way, which I'll get to later. But I think this match really exceeded expectations, and I thought it was incredibly well done. And if you didn't see Payback, even if you watch nothing else, I would suggest watching the I Quit match. And a quick aside, but it was at the pay-per-view, so it's going to be included in the video. There was an announcement that the next pay-per-view, a couple weeks away, there will be a tag team elimination chamber match for the tag titles. That is fantastic. I'm glad they're doing something a little different with the elimination chamber now, because normally it's just the 6 men, which is always a good match. A fantastic match is the elimination chamber, but they're actually mixing it up. I have not seen a tag team elimination chamber match in the past. If this is something that's been done before, please tell me what it was, and I will go watch that match, because that sounds absolutely amazing. So, really looking forward to that. That's in about 2 weeks. Next was the Divas tag match of the Bella Twins versus Naomi and Tamina Snuka. I want the Diva matches to be good. I remember, watching the old matches of like Trish Stratus and Lita, and it was like watching a wrestling match, except with women. So I always hope to see a good Divas match, but they just have not been reaching that level yet. There's a lot of potential, there's a lot of talent. I just don't think they're there. And this was one of those matches, especially in a tag, where when you're trying to build a division and you don't have a strong division as it is, I think putting a bunch of people into it at once isn't really going to help the case any. And I think that's kind of where this match suffered. Snooki, I knew I was going to do that at some point. Tamina Snuka and Naomi, and that's why I knew I was going to do it. Snooki, Naomi, I knew it. Snuka and Naomi controlled the early match. It was a very slow, methodical pace. They're bigger people. They're bruisers. They like to control the pace of the match in that way. They're not high flyers. They're not fast. They beat you up. So I'll give them credit for that. They're at least doing what they're supposed to do. Action was in and out of the ring after Nikki was tagged in. Brie kept Snuka outside while Naomi and Nikki fought inside. It kind of broke down into a one-on-one at that point. They're kind of building a rivalry between Naomi and Nikki. It's been going on for, a few weeks now. So that's what they kind of try to spotlight instead of an actual tag team match. However, Naomi got the pin on Nikki for the win. It was a pretty short match, which I know they're trying to stray away from, but it was kind of a mid-card match. No title implications, no story end. So I can kind of see why they kept it shorter. It's definitely a skippable match. Nothing really great happened in it. It was alright. That's really all I can say. It was alright. Next up was King Barrett versus Neville. Neville has been a great addition to the main roster, and I've really been enjoying the impromptu rivalry between him and Barrett. They kind of have that, home country rivalry going on. They're both English, so there's that whole story arc, and they're also just two very different wrestlers. Neville is a high flyer speed wrestler, and Barrett is more of a bruiser, punch you in the mouth kind of wrestler. So their techniques are very different, which is why I think every time they have a match, it's really interesting to watch. Barrett kept it to slow-paced match, just like I said. Neville finally developed some offense late in the match and delivered an interesting arm drag into a roll-up cover. It was definitely one of the more interesting moves I've seen in a long time, which is, like I said, this is why I like watching Neville. He's bringing new stuff to the WWE as a smaller guy, kind of like a Rey Mysterio type. Not quite the lucha style, but very much the quick moves, the tosses, the high dives. It's good. I like seeing it. It's good in contrast to a lot of the big guys. Neville set up Barrett for the Red Arrow, and Barrett rolled out of the ring. This was shortly after the arm drag, and I was like, okay, well, he tried to go for it and he couldn't get it. Barrett, however, decided he didn't want to get back in the ring. They called the 10 count, and Neville was made the winner. I was kind of disappointed with how this match ended. It was one of the matches I was really looking forward to, because anytime they say, here's Neville, then I want to see it. But it ended, and I was like, okay, well, whatever, that kind of sucks. However, Barrett then took that time to rush back into the ring and start beating up Neville. Neville, however, did counterattack, got him down, and then did lay him out with the Red Arrow, which is an incredibly impressive move. It's like a 450 twist with a backflip and a splat. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Just look it up. Just look it up. It's so good. But yeah, I was a little disappointed with the match, the way it ended. It was fun to watch, but it was definitely not the match I was anticipating. And now the match that everybody was waiting for. The Fatal 4-Way for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. What wasn't to look forward to in this match? It's the Shield Revenge and Randy Orton trying to finish off Rollins. Yes, there was so much built for this. Just the idea of the Shield that was torn apart by Seth Rollins, getting their revenge on him is enough, I think, for people to come in and watch it. And then the rivalry between Seth Rollins and Randy Orton has been pretty good, being built since before WrestleMania. So I think they're doing a great job there. I'm kind of hoping that at the end of this it's kind of done, but I'll get to that later. This definitely had the possibility to be the match of the year. I think that there's going to definitely be highlights of the year. I definitely think there may be Slammy Awards given out because of this match. We're going to get into that. For a Fatal 4-Way match, it was kind of slow. Basically at the very beginning of the match, all three men were getting ready to go after Rollins, but they were pulled out of the ring by J&J Security, and it was basically a one-on-one. So the match, for a majority of it, was Rollins versus one other person. It started as, I believe it was Rollins versus Reigns, and Kane intervened at a point and pulled Reigns out before he could perform a spear. Kane continued to interfere throughout the match to Rollins' benefit, as did J&J Security. Orton and Reigns finally attacked Kane and removed him for a few minutes. This is kind of where things got interesting. This is where the actual action really took place for a Fatal 4-Way. Where everybody was kind of anticipating Orton, Reigns, and Ambrose working together, it fell apart because mid-match, Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns did the trademark Shield powerbomb of Orton through one of the announcer tables. Ow. The move is ridiculous. It just looks so painful. However, immediately after that, Reigns and Ambrose attacked Rollins. Reigns and Ambrose then powerbombed Kane onto Rollins on the Spanish announcer table twice, breaking it the second time. So they got Rollins up there, and they powerbombed Kane, and then this table stood together. So as soon as the table was together, the crowd started chanting one more time. So it was on the second application of the powerbomb, the table finally broke. That's when Ambrose and Reigns went into the ring and they started having a one-on-one. And you could see that both guys love fighting each other. And that's one of the reasons that this match has the potential to be so good. It's so many guys that know each other so well and enjoy fighting and enjoy what they're doing. So it was really, really cool to watch that. Rollins won the match, though. He was able to sneak back in, and he performed one of the worst pedigrees I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what happened. I saw him perform another one on Monday Night Raw, and it was beautiful. So maybe he didn't have the grip. I don't know. But when he did perform the pedigree and got the 3 count, I was a little surprised. The match, I thought, was shorter, so maybe the earlier matches had run too long, so they didn't have the time to extend the match. He retained, but I expected as much. They're not going to take the belt from him yet. They're going to do something, I imagine, either at SummerSlam or Night of Champions. Especially with Lesnar's ban, or suspension, still hasn't been lifted. So I suspect he will want to enact his, rematch clause. And they're holding that until later in the year. If not even until Survivor Series. I'm hoping for Night of Champions. But we'll see. Overall, this was a pretty good pay-per-view. This is probably the best one of the year. I would say it's a tight match between this and WrestleMania. WrestleMania had a couple of cooler moments, which I think edges it out. But I would say that this one definitely was the second best pay-per-view of the year based on the quality of the matches and the storylines. There was only a couple of sleeper matches, like the Divas match. That really, honestly, the Divas match and the Ziggler Sheamus match are the only two matches that I was like, it's not that great. Everything else met or exceeded my expectations. So I definitely suggest, if you have not seen Payback, take the time to watch it. It was a really good one. So, with all that being said, I will see you guys next video. So this is Adam, signing off.